can in life work with children, it is good for you and it is good for the world. But do remember that kids like to play. Life is a game. You work with children, you can't be your doctor, the doctor. You have to be their client, right? Hi, I'm Dr. Supor. I'm going to help take care of you today. Sorry you're not feeling well. What's going on? You think that works with a 6-year-old? You know, but the equivalent of that is what you want to do. You know, are you playing at hide and seek outside the door? Are you walking in talking about their sneakers? Are you, whatever it is, you're comfortable with, it's fun for you. Just know, you got to be their buddy before you can be their doctor. Once you're a buddy, you can do anything. You know, that flashlight that you pretended was a candle, that birthday cake that they're blowing out, now that flashlight is a toy. It's not a threat. Think about it, watch people that do this, have fun with it. You'll find a lot of joy in it. You'll also find that it's effective. When we have gone down to Central America and done a lot of teaching trips, people bring a lot of books and medical equipment, and it's wonderful that they do that. You know what I bring? Deflated soccer balls. Because you think it's medicine that would link you to it, and it's not. Often it's religion, but more so in the rest of the world, it's sport. You show up with a deflated soccer ball and a pump, and you blow it up, you just got yourself an audience of 100 people. You have a soccer game, and then you sit down and you talk about health, and you're connected. You sit down and talk about health, people are being polite. Even in a disaster zone, this was a DMAT hurricane. You think it's tough on you? It's tougher if you're 8 years old. It's okay to play. Okay, chief complaint. What is the diagnosis? Presenting chief complaint is either syncope, a cough, a wheezing, a lightheadedness, or AFib, a fever, or weakness. All of these presenting chief complaints can be what diagnosis? This is the part where you say something. Yeah, you're right. I hear a whole bunch of P. I hear one MI, which is not a bad answer either. Pulmonary embolism, absolutely. It's easy when people come in with risk factors in the classic split. I've seen PE present with these chief complaints. Chest X-ray, right? Same thing. They're the classic findings that you'll almost never see. These other things, anaphylactic, pneumonia, usually less than a third, or normal. These can be outlandish. Watch out for pain, right? Use your own knowledge, your own patterns, things that you've seen. You've taken care of lots of people with pneumonia. Do they complain of pain? They tend to have a lot of lung pain. Fever, cough, shortness of breath. Right? It's not as much the chief kind of focuses. Man, this hurts. Infarct pain hurts. I've had several pulmonary embolises that have been thought to be pneumonia, but I've been impressed with the degree of pain, done the CAT scan, and found that pneumonia to be a pulmonary. So watch out for a lot of pain when it comes to pneumonia. Okay, step ahead. I think that's what emergency medicine is about. So psyching for sport, right? Imagery, see yourself succeeding, catching the ball, getting in the end zone, whatever it is. Medicine is no different. So always think about what can go wrong. Walk out of the room with a serious chief complaint. And I know I like to play this game with you sometimes, you know, the what if game, right? The nurse comes around the corner, the blood pressure is 50. What are you going to do? The nurse comes around the corner and tells you the patient is seizing. What are you going to do? You know, think about think about what goes wrong. Because what happens then, you all do this in life, right? On your way out, you've got the tape, you're thinking about it. What happens is that when that complication happens, you have calm. Because you've already thought about it. You've already got a plan. You've already dealt with it. It's not a surprise for you. And you're ready for it. Sometimes you're physically ready. You've got BiPAP outside the door. You've got push dose pressors ready. You've got your, pressors ready to be plugged in. So you think about it, stay a step ahead, ask yourself what you're going to do when everything goes bad, and then you're ready when it happens. Now, I'm a big fan of writing things out in this kind of situation, especially with kids or RSI. Put it, I often walk around with little note cards. put it on there. This is the medicine and the dose, and the order I want. Then you just hand it over. Say, these are the things I'm looking for. Because if you've ever been in a critical situation, people are shouting back and forth, especially with kids, right? And you don't want medication errors. It's so nice. You've pre-calculated everything ahead of time. Nowadays, I guess grab an order sheet, put it on an order sheet instead of a note card, and put that in your pocket. And then you can just hand the order sheet. And then the medication nurse is all set. And you can cut out all that conversation, cut out all that risk for error in a critical situation. You're focused on resuscitation, not what dose, what medicine. You've already done it. You decided. Chest pain and syncope is what? Maybe vascular. Good. Yeah. Chest pain and shortness of breath is what? Maybe chest pain and neuro symptoms. Yeah, maybe vascular, right? So be careful when you link them. When you have chest pain and syncope and, there's another diagnosis that you should think of. Strained muscles should behave like strained muscles. People want to believe things are okay. That doesn't mean things are okay. I've been shoveling snow and my shoulders hurt. It must be a muscle strain. Well, I had an MI present that way, and what tipped us off was that it behaved like a muscle strain. When I pushed, does it hurt? When you strain that muscle, you move it, you push against pressure. Muscle strain. You've all had muscle strains. Don't fall into the trap of wanting to believe things are okay because you want them. Okay? It doesn't make sense. Listen, explore. Get your EKG, do some else. Anyone with chest pain, at least 2 EKGs, right? 0 EKGs. Okay. Create simple links in your head so you don't miss stuff. Altered mental status equals finger stick glucose. MDI and spacer, right? It's one word, right? Why put half the medicine in the mouth when you can put all the medicine in the lungs? So just make it one word, MDI and spacer. Neb and people. Fever and confusion, and you'll find your own links. But I know that I won't remember aspirin toxicity. I know Dr. Firm will, but I won't remember agitated delirium. I should check an aspirin. But I know when I have agitated delirium and I have fever and confusion, I'm going to think to do an LP for meningitis. So I know when I have that thought, I also check an aspirin. So take a look at how you think. You build in links to help keep you and your patients safe. Flu in the summer, Lyme disease. Flu in the winter, carbon monoxide. Young person, odd neuro symptoms, doesn't make any sense, they must be malingering. MS. Good. Death and taxes. Those are your only guarantees. It is important for you to know that. We live as if we will always live, and we live as if we will always be healthy. And we know that's not true. We work around it every day. We work around people that are permanently disabled, whereas an hour ago they were completely fine. It's not a surprise to us that people have a stomach ache and it turns into ovarian disease. It's not a surprise to us that people sneeze and have a life-changing intracranial bleed. It's not a surprise to us that people die. Most of your friends and neighbors have never seen it in their body. There's no guarantees. And what do you do with that information? You have to know that. You have to know that there's no guarantee in it, that it's not fair. And it doesn't mean that you're selfish in your decision making. It doesn't mean that you don't care about stuff. It means that your decisions really matter. It means that the day-to-day good that you're doing, the day-to-day impact, the day-to-day little connections that you have with people, they matter greatly. And I think that's really important to know, because you're not guaranteed that all that is the same tomorrow. Set rules for yourself. When it gets crazy, when it gets busy, rules will keep you sane. They will keep you civil. Medically set rules for yourself. As it gets busier, then you fall back on those rules. But also personally. See, you don't advance or decline in big steps, usually. You do it in small steps. And so you have to set rules for yourself that will help you to take those small steps. For example, it is a personal rule for me that I don't make fun of patients, even when it might be kind of humorous or indicated. Because for me, dehumanizing. That if I make fun of that person, even when it's kind of funny, it's a step towards looking at them other than a patient. And I don't want to take that step. And then the opposite is true. When you don't do certain things, you walk further down that road as well, towards a rewarding and an approach that you are comfortable and proud of. Peer pressure does not end in high school. We've talked about this in your internal education. People will say things. People will do things. If you don't look at it in the same way, it's okay to say, well, I just don't look at it that way. Power, especially when you're in training and early on, you want to fit in. Don't worry so much about fitting in. Worry about being the type of person, the type of doctor that you want to be. And that happens in little steps, and it gets better through little practices. And one of the best advices that I can give you is to listen to the voice that's telling you to do those things, that's telling you the right things. If there is a screaming child, any of you have kids, you can pick up that cry, that voice, over lots of other things. Your brain is capable of doing that. Is it not possible for your brain to also selectively hear a moral voice? Sometimes it's little stuff. The voice says, hold the door open for something. The voice says, get someone to come and call. The voice says, just the little things. The more you listen to that, the clearer it gets, the easier it is to hear, and the easier it is to follow. Emergency medicine is fast. I remember, this is Paul Graham. Paul Gramlin was the chief of emergency medicine in St. Vincent. Wonderful human being, terrible administrator, a great doctor. And beloved, not only because he used to bring us ice cream all the time, because he just said it's a hot day, people should have ice cream, but because he knew when to slow down, and that's so important in emergency medicine. It is fast, you have to care about that. But I remember working some very busy days. Those of you that have worked at bulletin keys know that. Charts completely lined up, people falling out of the windows. And Dr. Grayling coming over, chart rack this long. Well, taking all the charts out, pick them all out, and make them small. Come on over. Yeah. Look around. Pretty busy, huh? Yeah, it's out of control. Pretty busy. You've got to speed up. You need to have those charts. No. We've got to slow down. Because there are some really sick people out here. We don't know who they are. And we have to find them. We've got to slow down. So know when you have to speed up. Know when you have to slow down. Headache, chest pain, abdominal pain, shortness of breath. High-risk illnesses, high-risk ages. There's a time to slow down. Burnout. So for a very long time, I've been asking questions during interviews. I have asked people why they think people burn out. And there's lots of answers on how you avoid burnout. We'll often talk about outside activity or balance. And there's truth in it. It's not the truth. Because I also ask people, what is the most meaningful part of your student rotation when you've been in the emergency department? And not all, but almost all, eventually get down to the point where they talk about a connection with another patient. This was a good day because this happened with this person. But yet, we get into the field of emergency medicine, and all of a sudden it's got to stay distant. Too much, too intense, can't connect, will burn me out. And yet they found the most rewarding part of being a student in the ER, the actual connection. That doesn't make sense. So I think the truth is that you're sustained by the connection. That doesn't mean that you're owning it emotionally 100%, but it doesn't mean that you're stepping back 100%. I think that if you're open to it, if you're willing to be part of your patient's lives and let them know that you care about them, you will find that sustained. You will find that it's not a gas tank. You burn up the fuel and it's gone. It gets filled up. It gets restored. And you have to hold on to what's ever meaningful different for everyone. Because you see, everything else you just put up with, right? That's the work. The job is what you find meaning. There are a lot of things I've done here over the last 15 years that I have not really found a lot of joy in. None of it seemed to matter. Because the things that bring joy and meaning overshadow all the other stuff you just do. You just kind of put up with. Every job has that. So find the things that are meaningful for you. Hold on to those things. Allow yourself to be connected. And you'll find that will sustain you. Nothing wrong with outside interest. Personal contacts, family contacts, being part of a community. I love that this is where we have a ghost station. It makes a difference. I love that people are involved in the community and making connections that help kids that grow well. Our team over at the Boston Marathon. Find different parts of your career that are interesting to you. If it's an academic pursuit, if it's teaching, if it's service, if it's simulation, if it's international service, if it's outdoor efforts. This is Dan Bussey, our former chief president from a long time ago. This is the shirt, UMass Emergency Medicine, that Dan and myself, Eric Dixon, Stephen Taiji, and Corey Harrison, and Bob McCarran wore when we ran the Boston Marathon in 2004. This is the top of Mount Everest with Dan Bussey. Dr. Brigham working internationally. Dr. Brigham needing to understand Spanish a little more so she doesn't end up in the wrong place. It's okay to get wrapped up in your work, you know. This is Dr. Galetta, and this is her son Eric. He was just a little tight, demonstrating extrication on Honduras. And this was we kept losing Dr. Brigham. We finally decided how we could keep track of her. This is Dr. Lane, who's now the clerkship director over at George Washington. This is one of my favorite pictures because it is the best reminder for me. So we went down, we've been to 3 different places, and teaching and service. This kid's shirt helped to remind me why we're there, and actually helped change my life. You can't read it. It says future soccer star. And it is completely the truth. You don't know who future star tomorrow is. Who's going to be the doctor? Who's going to be the servant? Who's going to be in public eye? We just don't know. I mean, you have all these students and residents in your work, and you just don't know. What are they turning into? And if you're blessed enough to be able to encourage and influence that process, know that the people that are harder to connect to might need you more. And you just don't know who the future soccer star is. And sometimes you know who isn't. And that's okay. We can fix this too. We were talking about different outside activities. I for a very long time was a soccer referee. This is where I learned a lot about life outside the emergency department, which, as I said, is a wonderful opportunity because when you're in the ER and life comes to you, you will get into circles that no one else gets into because they come to you, they come to your ER. If you're open to it, you get to experience the world during a 12-hour shift. This is at the Boston Breakers, professional women's team, our national referee camp. This is at the New England Revolution versus the Dallas Burn. I put this in there, as I mentioned before, that when you're used to 10,000 people chanting, "You suck," all at once, the more pods are harder. That's no problem at all. Keeps you very humble. But the players start to get older and bigger and a little bit more aggressive. This is me at a professional game up in New Hampshire, feeling like, what am I doing here? And then ultimately, the players can get really well armed, and then they do it's not to kind of retire from the soccer. The things that are meaningful, hold on to. The things that drive you crazy, you have to reconcile it. It's different for everyone, but reconcile it. Stop. Just stop. Don't fight it every day. You're going to show up at work every day and be mad at people with back pain. You're going to show up at work every day and be mad at people that keep coming back to the ER. You're going to rob yourself of the joy of being in the ER. It's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt your day. It's going to hurt patients that don't deserve to be hurt by that attitude. Just reconcile it. Figure out what your approach is. Talk to other people. See what you can live with. Are you a bridge script person? Are you a no script person? Are you an OB script person? It doesn't matter. It just shouldn't be angry. You don't want to write a script, don't write a script. But that's not an angry thing. That's just your decision. Whatever it is that's getting you upset, frustrated, do the homework, think about it, reconcile it, take an approach. Don't let it ruin your day. Don't let it ruin your day. You should glide gracefully. And this is a reminder from our winter princess here that the winter is hard in New England. And I've definitely noticed this over the last 15 years here, is that it's tougher on the residents in the winter. And there will be a dip here with the short days and the cold weather. Do something fun. Look out for each other. Have a party. Dance a little bit. Realize when you're in conflict with another service, when you're working with consultants, it should usually be about solving a problem. And if you're really hard on yourself, you can ask, is this about making a point, or is it about solving a problem? If it's about making a point, and you're okay, and every so often it is, and that's not wrong 100% of the time, but you should know that that's what you're doing. You're not trying to solve a problem. In fact, you're making a problem, but you're trying to make a point. It should be the minority of times, right? Most of the times, catch yourself realizing that you're really just trying to make a point, and realize that point is less important than solving the problem, and kind of refocus. Working outside the ED helps you inside the ED. Meetings that are boring, you're there to connect with the other people in the room. Dr. Weaver and I have a great connection outside the ER. We've never had a problem inside the ER. Why? Because we have a nice connection outside. You should care about the people you work with. You should stay close to them. They make a difference. They make every day better. I'm going to very quickly note that there are some chief complaints once you form a relationship with the patient. You can do your history and physical exam at the same time. Once you've connected, start examining the need while you're still getting information. Just makes it more efficient. You can chart in the room if that's some of you like that, some don't. You do it the right way. Think about it. The charting should not interfere with the relationship. There's an art to it. You don't start writing right away. Make eye contact. Introduce yourself to everyone. You let the first sentence go. Then maybe you write. When you ask a question, you're not writing. You're looking up. You're waiting for them to start answering. And after they start to answer, after the first word or two, then you can look down and make some notes. Look back up, and then make some notes. There's a right and a wrong way to do these things. You don't send a message that I'm not interested, I'm not listening, because you are interested. You are listening. Delegate, that's okay. Task yourself. Would you mind tracking down the admitting resident? I have to go see a new patient. When you're giving yourself a job, people are happy to help out. They feel like you're just dumping on them because you don't feel like doing things. It's hard to do experience. Think in the room. It doesn't get easier when you leave the room. If you don't know what you're doing with chest pain when you leave the room, stay in the room. Keep thinking of your differential. Have a plan when you leave the room. Your labs are going to be normal. Your x-ray is going to be normal. Your EKG is going to be normal. When it isn't, it's easy. Most of the times, it's hard. Stay in the room until you have a plan. CT trap, you think you're going to get it, get the contrast going right up front. Choose not to get it, that's okay. Got some contrast. We're a rich hospital. We've got plenty of contrast. So it's better than waiting 3 hours and then deciding you need the CT and then start the contrast. Any chance, just get it started. What do you think ED patients want from their doctors? I've asked this question for 15 years, and there's a lot of good answers. The best answer, they want you to know that they're individual and that you care about them as the doctor. You've heard me say this before. The person in bed 7 with chest pain is not the person in bed 8 with chest pain. And if you can express that to the person in bed 7 and bed 8, not by saying it, but by helping them to feel that, your career gets more meaningful and your impact gets larger. Okay, customer satisfaction is crap. I don't believe in customer satisfaction. I understand when people talk about it, I understand the motivation. I'm not saying the motivation is crap, I'm not saying the goals are bad, I'm not saying the concepts are bad. I'm saying it's the wrong language. For me, customer is someone I'm trying to sell something, I'm trying to persuade them of a product. We're not a product, we're a doctor, we're patients. That connection is important and unique and sacred. And if you think it's less important than any other issue, get sick. Have a family member that gets sick. You'll see how quickly problems get overcome. There is not a single part of customer satisfaction that would not be included with a caring physician. You should not get someone a pillow because it increases your scores. You should get someone a pillow because they need it and you want them to be comfortable. You should not dim the lights when you walk the room because the study has shown that patients likely to do that. You should notice that it's uncomfortable to be staring at bright light, and you should want people to be more comfortable, and you should offer to turn the lights down. And there's a million examples. If you focus on being a caring, kind, accurate physician, you don't have to attend a single customer service. No. Smartest person in the room is a combination of everyone. Okay. No one's perfect, but there are a lot of good people that care very much about what they're doing. Keep those people close. They're not replaceable because they're not employees. They're committed to an idea. They're committed to a mission. They will serve and they will offer a lot. And the value will outweigh the downside. Listen to content experts. You can't be a content expert without everything. You can't do everything. So include the people that are actually doing the work. They will give you a perspective. They will give you wisdom. They will give you content expertise. They'll be very valuable to you that you can't gain in other ways. Always make time for your staff and for a sense of humor. This is a patient that I discharged with a bloody nose, and this is Rosemary bringing the discharge instructions back to me, suggesting that perhaps it's not time for the patient to be discharged. And there's been a little bit of a recurrence. Realize that teaching isn't about sharing facts. Teaching isn't about showing how smart you are. Teaching is about helping someone arrive at a thought process, asking good questions, finding an approach. That's what teaching should be about. You see people that do it well, talk to them about it. Pay attention to it. Become those people. Mentoring is even more fun because you can do it over time. But realize that mentoring is a challenge and a responsibility, and you're doing it whether you accept it or not. There are things that are okay for you to say to each other. You're emergency physicians. You're in the pit. You get it. You're in the trenches. You can say things. You're not cruel. You're not mean. But if you said it in front of a family, a patient, you'd be like, no, that doesn't belong, right? Don't misunderstand that. How many of you stop and say, is it okay to say that in front of the medical school? Well, there's somewhere in between. Maybe it's not the same. Maybe the audience that you say different things to at different times is important. Because the littlest things can influence people. And we want those things to be good influences. We can always make time again for a laugh here and there. This and Paul Revere of the Old North Church was also wearing a Bruins shirt during the recent term. Okay, just a couple of last concepts here. The key word, here it comes, you ready for it? Emotion. Know yourself, know others. You can use emotion to help you diagnose. You walk in a room feeling fine, suddenly, by the midway through the conversation, like you're sad? Where do you think that came from? That came from the patient. They're your friends. You're picking up on it. So be open to it. You notice this. You feel this. Look at your own reactions. When you are in the room with a bipolar patient, how do you feel? You get angry? You get frustrated? Notice how you're reacting. Look for patterns. Just every time I am with a bipolar patient, I get this way. And then you'll notice, why am I getting so angry? Oh, right, you're bipolar. So diagnosis, once you understand the patterns and filter out your own biases or the biases that other people have either when come through or wills. When there's a staff member that's a patient, when their family is a patient, when someone that works with you is being harassed by someone from outside your department, do not look the other way. People will always remember and appreciate if you get involved when it's needed. They won't tell you, but they'll never forget. They'll never fully forgive you. They'll never fully look at it the same way if you're not there. See, it's easy to be a friend when it's hard to be a friend. It's in, I have non-medical people that sometimes say, geez, you only hear from that person in your neighborhood when they need something, medically. And it's just very simple answer. Yeah, isn't that wonderful? That's actually part of being a doctor. And I'm fortunate to have it. It's okay. It's a blessing. It's not there. You miss it. So come through for me. This is a slow-moving ship. This is a ship that I'll be going to in a couple of weeks. And I guess I would just share with you that there's nothing wrong with the slow-moving ship. UMass is a very fast-moving ship, and there's a lot of things that happen, a lot of wonderful things that happen, a lot of wonderful things that will continue to happen. But when stuff matters, slow down. And I mean for each other. When somebody loses someone, when someone makes an error, when someone has a bad shift, don't move on from that so quickly, because they're not. Check in with them. See how they're doing. Talk about the case. Follow up. Remember. There are times the ship needs to slow down if it's going to keep the crew on board and go forward. It is hard to make mistakes. This will hit people hard in this, especially if you do something physically, do something to yourself. People don't want to stay. If you haven't had this happen to you yet, you're very lucky. But you'll have the feeling of, I want to hang up my white coat and I never want to come back. I want to run. I can't. And someone needs to remind you that you're a good person and you're a good doctor and we need you to come back. And you don't need to hear that when everything is fine. You need to hear that when you feel like leaving and not coming back. And you will all feel that way when you make a horrible mistake. Help each other. There's nothing therapeutic about a central line. Okay? Doesn't get anyone better. Do procedures when they're necessary. When they're not necessary, don't take the risk. You'll get your experience. Make sure you can live with it. If something goes wrong, say, well, it was a risk, it happened, but they really needed it. It will feel different to you if they're like, well, they didn't really need it, I just wanted to do the line. Make sure people need what they're supposed to. Ask a lot of questions. That's how you control your own education, your own future. Ask people questions, and you take a fast process and you slowed it down and you started a conversation. So you really can go this to this. It's just asking the right questions. Don't be too hard on people, okay? Life is harder than you realize. None of you are here by accident. Things were not given to you. You're here because you've worked hard and earned it. That work for you. But we've been given opportunities that not everyone has. Just by being born in the States, we've been given opportunities that a lot of people don't have. No one is born growing up with the hope of becoming a parent. Life's hard. Don't be too hard. Try to give people a break. Realize that true mental health and true addiction is real. Okay? It's like telling a diabetic and knock it off and just make some insulin. You wouldn't say it, but you'll say, geez, this guy's so depressed, just cheer up, go out for a beer, have a laugh, Just stop using, and then you're not using. Just say no, right? Just make some insulin. Come on, get to it. Why don't you just make some insulin? It's the same thing. Well, just to close, those of you who have, we've overlapped for a while, and to share ideas in the past. You know that my father was an important person in my life, and I don't mind sharing with you all that he survived Nazi Germany and was in a camp. And and then he spied the communist reign in Hungary and the Hungarian Revolution, and then escaped to America. In fact, me and my brothers will be the first generation in our family that will actually presume be born and die in the same country. That hasn't been true for anyone else in my family. This was a celebration we had of 50 years in America. And when my father came here, he was 20 years old, didn't know the language, had lived through some pretty difficult things, and started. And got a PhD, and ultimately became the director of research at GT Laboratories, professor at multiple institutions. Why do I tell you this? Because at the end of his life, he had a business card. So he had lots of business cards throughout his life, with all sorts of titles on them. And at the end of his life, he had a business card with his name, his phone number, and his email. And that's the business card that I carry with me. Because it was the realization that it is your name and how people can connect to you that really matters. And that if you work really hard, if you're really careful, you get a little bit lucky, you can be a person of integrity. And it doesn't happen by itself. There are a couple of things that you have to do. You have to listen to that moral voice, and then you'll hear it more clearly. Another thing that you have to know is that when you're tested, when you're faced with decisions, whatever decision you make will get easier. So if you do what you think is right, the reward for doing that is the courage that you did, that will then help you to continue to do things that are right. But you see, the opposite is also just as true. If you do something wrong, you say, I know that's right, but I'm not going to do it. It gets easier to do wrong.